Pelosi versus MNUCHIN. Pelosi and MNUCHIN are back to the negotiating table with a higher offer from Donald, but Pelosi's claiming that Donald should not be even serving in office of president, evoking the 25th Amendment. In this video, I go over why this is so important and so strange and trying to get a second stimulus deal done when someone's calling the other side crazy. It's so crazy that I went to the casino for lunch and I was sitting at the bar and, Sir Lloyd, the chief negotiator for the cows, the lobbyists, he moved on in. Hey, what's going on? Can you move over? I'm like, did you hear what Nancy did with the 25th Amendment? Yeah, I heard about that. I'm like, why didn't she do the other 24 before that? I'm like, they don't apply. I'm like, what do you think about this? She's calling someone else crazy. I mean, I'm trying to get these people to work together. He says, I can do it. I'm like, you're a cow. That sounds a little crazy. Why would a cow come to the negotiation? That doesn't sound sane. He's like, well, you're talking to a cow in a bar. What's normal about that? I'm like, okay. I'm like, they're trying to get a deal done, and she's evoking the 25th Amendment. You think you could fix that? He said, I run in a herd for daily basis, and I drive a Cadillac, and I go to a casino. Do you not think I can solve anything else involved? To which I said, I think you're a little lactose intolerant. Not funny. Cow's going hungry. Cow's going hungry. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is LALATE in a day in which, everything's going a little crazy, including me. This is a special edition of Pelosi versus MNUCHIN. Go to the front of this channel and subscribe. Subscribe because in this video, I'm going to be delivering the fourth in a 2-hour special report about why the stimulus check negotiations has gotten so screwy very quickly. Also, like this video. In this video, Pelosi versus MNUCHIN, I'm going to be touching on why the evoking of the 25th Amendment 25 days before the election, see the coincidence there, is just not a good thing to be doing when you're trying to get a stimulus package signed by the person who you're just calling crazy. What is the 25th Amendment? Why is it being done? And why is it such a horrible distraction in a day in which we really don't need distractions? Nancy Pelosi said at a press conference today, this is not about President Donald Trump. He'll face the judgment of the voters. She's only invoking the 25th for purposes of him. Nancy Pelosi had a press conference today and said that she's going to establish a special committee to determine whether or not the 25th Amendment should be used against the President of the United States. Now, let me back up, because this is a little crazy unto itself. The 25th Amendment basically would say that the President is not fit to serve as the President of the United States. Well, to have a bill become a law, the President has to sign the bill into law. And she's saying that the person who's supposed to sign her bill is now crazy, so that he's unable to serve and sign your bill. Do you see a problem with that? It's just like, how do you sign the bill if you just said the person shouldn't be doing anything, including signing bills? She wants Mike Pence to sign the bill? It's just, that's a little crazy. Ultimately, if Mike Pence is vice president, I guess Mike Pence becomes president, I guess Nancy Pelosi is vice president. It's a lot of crazy unto craziness unto itself. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said this is absolutely absurd. Kayla, press secretary to the White House, then said this absurd proposal. Mitch McConnell just days ago said Nancy Pelosi needs to stop coming up with scandals every single day. Needless to say, I just have an opinion, and my opinion of the situation is it's just not a good idea to be calling people you're negotiating with crazy. That's a really stretch of an opinion, isn't it? Yeah, it's just, thank you, Captain Obvious, for that opinion. The purple power, the purple Captain Obvious for today. It's just a little bit disconcerting that Nancy Pelosi has had personality problems with everyone she's negotiating with the exception of one guy. And we really don't even know she's really getting along with Steve Mnuchin because he never says much of anything, and he's always like this. So we really don't know, as we're sitting here in a Pelosi versus Mnuchin special, if they really do get along or whether or not she's just placating the situation. Pelosi versus Mnuchin is the negotiating team because there was a Meadows and she didn't want to deal with him, so he backed off. There was a Schumer and she didn't want him in the room because he kept on giving away too much stuff, so he kicked him out. And now we have only Pelosi versus Mnuchin. And that has really sort of eroded the problem that we're at hand. Let Congress exert the power the Constitution gave us. Okay. It didn't give you a lot, Nancy. In times of chaos, we must hold fast to our Constitution, said a Democratic. Well, Congress has to play a role. My impression was their approach was how to handle this was far different from mine, which I insisted we do in the Senate, which is to wear a mask and practice social distancing, said McConnell as to how to deal with crushing the virus. It's a day in like this where people really can't understand where things are. Nancy Pelosi, in no less than 4 weeks, has had 4 different scandals and 0 stimulus packages approved. Do you see a trend there? I do. First, she had a scandal with the postmen. She was chasing the postmen around. She flew everyone from the House back to Washington while they were on recess to vote on a postal bill. They said, "Hey, Nance, can we do a standalone bill for unemployment benefits?" No. Can we do one for stimulus checks? No. Then when she was asked about it, she was asked, "Did people ask you for a stimulus check and a standalone bill?" No, my caucus is aligned. Well, they weren't. They were maligned at the time. That was enough. Her next week, she had another scandal. And a second impeachment of Donald Trump. She wrote a bill, introduced it to the House. No one voted on it. Got a press conference. No one voted on it. Her third scandal, one against Barr, which, a lot of people don't like in the first place. She introduced that. No one voted on it. She got some press about this. And today, yet another scandal bill, one about the 25th Amendment. What is with this thing about having a press conference every 10 seconds to talk about a scandal with the president and yet saying, well, come up with more money for me? There's an old saying, if you're crazy, you don't know how much money you're offering to a Speaker of the House. I don't know where I've heard that saying, but, do you wonder maybe the president is not coming up with a $2 trillion bill because you keep on calling him crazy? Or maybe he is crazy, doesn't know what $2 trillion is versus 1.8. It's that contradiction that Nancy Pelosi continues to do, was a lot of people are saying he's not the one crazy and maybe it's someone else, that people just don't understand what's going on. The 25th Amendment is the latest attempt by Nancy Pelosi to personalize the stimulus negotiations, and viewers simply just don't think that's funny. Nancy Pelosi has taken the negotiations of a second stimulus check beyond just who's running for president, beyond who's trying to get reelected, to now really a personal attack every day of the week. She's called Mark Meadows, whatever his name is. What's his name? A staffer, only a staffer. And he's chief of staff. He's not just a staffer. He's the chief of the staff. She's taken an issue with Mitch McConnell, saying that Mitch pressed pause on stimulus negotiations a month ago. He didn't press pause. You press pause. You press pause on anything that's exactly $2.2 trillion. And so when we're talking about Pelosi versus Mnuchin, it's ultimately Pelosi versus the world. Last week, Pelosi and Mnuchin were at a point at which she was telling press there was an imminent negotiation underway. An imminent deal was coming. Her word, imminent, was repeated several times by her. Next, she told the airlines, don't fire anyone. There's a deal coming right away. They're like, Nancy, you missed a deadline. We need that deal by October 1st. Well, don't fire them. I'll bring them back. We're going to get a deal right away. She didn't have a deal right away. And then when the president called off negotiations and then said, okay, I'm bringing them back on, what did she say? It's about science and crushing the virus. No. It's not about crushing the virus. It's about getting a stimulus package out for $1,200 stimulus checks. The problem as we sit here tonight with Pelosi versus Mnuchin is really actually what she says, a lack of refocus of two people. Pelosi thinks that this stimulus package has something to do with solving COVID-19. At least that's what she tells the American people the package is for. When the package is really about how to solve salary raises for federal officials. The vast majority of her bill is giving salary raises to the federal workers that have nothing to do with COVID-19, while she sits and has press releases telling the American people that the bill is something about children going hungry. It's about crushing the virus. It's about science. On the other side, Steve Mnuchin, who's been equally to blame to not tell us where are his numbers. Steve Mnuchin has had Nancy Pelosi press conference after press conference after press conference, misinterpreting his numbers, misstating his numbers, but then when he gives us new numbers, or when he gives her new numbers, he doesn't tell us what his numbers are. Steve Mnuchin has had a difficult position. He's had to come and twist and change things by the hour because the president keeps on changing his mind. But nowhere through this has Steve Mnuchin been really clear to us. It was about 4 weeks ago that Steve Mnuchin appeared on CNBC Squawk Box in the Morning, a show which he often appears on every Monday morning each week. And during that occasion, Jim Cramer and David Faber, the anchors, had enough with Steve Mnuchin giving vague answers and said, let's go line item with what you've offered Nancy. It was that broadcast that I happened to be watching, and I pulled out a piece of paper and pen and started writing quickly, that I finally got some numbers from Steve Mnuchin about what his offers were. To date, since then, we have had versions and versions of changes and twists, but no clarity from Steve Mnuchin what his numbers are. And that's really not fair, because ultimately Steve Mnuchin said he would do the Problem Solvers Bill and didn't. He said he was going to adopt the Problem Solvers Bill and did not. He said he was going to have the terms and conditions for FPUC and stimulus checks and things like that of the Problem Solvers Bill, and he did not. We found that out, through a back door, not through the front door. The Problem Solvers Bill, 2 stimulus checks, $1,200, 2 stimulus checks, one now and one in May if you're a single individual. Steve Mnuchin took out the second check. Problem Solvers, FPUC, $450 for 8 weeks, and then thereafter 5 weeks of $600. Steve Mnuchin said he's supporting the Problem Solvers Bill. He was not. He cut that out. He did $400 a week. Problem Solvers Bill was, I believe, start FPUC right at the time of the Problem Solvers Bill. Steve Mnuchin put Problem Solvers Bill retroactive to September 5th. Why? Not very clear. Problem Solvers Bill tried to do a lot of things, and Steve Mnuchin sort of unraveled it and started throwing more money at Pelosi, but where was that money going? Again, not clear. As you sit here this weekend, what you need to understand is that we have very little clarity in the Pelosi versus Mnuchin negotiation as to where anything has moved for upwards of 6 months. He was at one point, he was at like 1.1 or 1.2 in July. Then he was 1.3 about 2 weeks ago, then 1.6, and now 1.8. But ultimately, the items that affect you, FPUC, hazard pay, stimulus checks, he hasn't moved a penny. And she hasn't either. So is that negotiations, or is it just political theater? Let me answer some of your 699 questions from yesterday. None of our politicians deserve any raise. They aren't doing anything. Barbara, you would think the Supreme Court, some authority could intervene with this. Crystal, she's not going to agree upon anything. Christina, stimulus for seats and votes. Vicky, no stimulus, so tired. Larry, Pelosi will never help America. PME, her actions should be remove her from office. Corey, Steve Mnuchin goes whatever the wind blows. Esther, Nancy's the one who needs psychological care. Heath, as a veteran, my heart hurts. Sharon, she should be playing home. Grandma, instead of playing politics. Lorena, fire her. She's done nothing. Why is she getting away with this? Charlotte, nightmare on Washington. Aurora, this is one big corrupted mess. Shalia, the more Nancy talks, the more she's proving how mentally unstable she is. Linda, she took a let's just take her out of office. Chef Bangers. Remember, people, it's not the size of the package that matters, is how much money it is. Rose Teal. Put Nancy in the American situation now and see how she can make it. Linda. We need to tweet for the people in her distract her vote. Diane. I think they're all smoking weed. Leo. They're not going to agree on anything. They're just stalling and dragging all this. It's disgraceful. Carrie Cook. Hey, LA. Why is he not signing executive orders? The $1 million question everyone asks. I don't know the answer. I really just think it's Larry Kudlow that's getting in his ear, and he's looking at Wall Street, and he sees Walmart and Target and Home Depot and Lowe's up. And he's like, we don't need stimulus, we're all fine. Larry, what do you think? We don't need stimulus, Mr. President, we're fine. And I think that's why it's going that way. Go to the Flash channel, subscribe because we're all here together and we get to do it together. Also, like this video. Coming up next is Evenings LA. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay with LA for more.